Thought I couldn't breathe without you. I'm inhaling. Thought I couldn't see without you. Perfect vision. Thought I couldn't last without you, but I'm lasting. Thought that I would die without you, but I'm living. Thought that I would fade without you, but I'm on top. Thought it would be over, but now, but it won't stop. Thought that I would self-destruct, but I'm still here. Even in my years to come, you still got me here. I'm a survivor.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of I Survived. I am your host, Rita Green, and I am so excited that you have chosen to tune in with us tonight. We have an amazing special treat for you, a story of many survivals. We have none other than Miss Christina Green. She is in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hey, Rita Green.
Hey, Christina Green. How are you? Looking executive over there.
Girl, I was trying. I'm wonderful. How about yourself?
I am great. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this and for being a part of I Survived. I'm so excited to have you as my special guest tonight. I know that you have a lot to talk about and a lot of healing that's going to take place for people. It's so important. Transparency is so important for people because a lot of times we think that we're the only ones in something and we're not. So I appreciate you. I know that you are a strong woman and I know that you don't mind sharing what's real so that it can help other people. So again, welcome and thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Rita Green. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's just jump right in there. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you're from.
Okay, my name is Christina Green, and I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana, particularly Westside Hallville. Okay. I was born in Wishart Hospital, so I'm a true West Sider. I don't even think it's called Wishart anymore. And I currently reside in Atlanta, Metro Atlanta area. So that's where I'm from.
Okay, so you currently live in Atlanta, but you're from Indy.
Yes, I'm from Indy. I'm a mother. I have 5 children. I have a granddaughter, one more on the way.
Okay.
We made Atlanta. I lived in Chicago for about 10 years. I left Indianapolis in my early 20s. I lived in Chicago for about 10 years. And then I moved to Atlanta, and I've been here about 10 years. And that's probably going to reveal my age. I'm 77 years old. Okay. But yes, that's me.
Crazy. Good evening, Jennifer Thomas. Thank you, Shantae. Was that Shantae?
Hey, Jen.
Hey, is it Jen or Jenna? Jenna or
That's Jennifer and Shantae. Hey, y'all. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you for your comments. Please get your questions and your comments ready. Comment all night long. We don't care. So, all right. So let's just jump right into the meat and potatoes of what you've been through. What story?
I was saying hi to Gina.
Oh,
West Side.
Okay. I thought we was, throw it up. I don't know. Okay. So how do you like living in Atlanta? Because that's where I actually want to relocate to.
Girl, I love it. Please come. It's like Wakanda.
Yes. Come on, Wakanda.
Girl, it is Wakanda. When Black Panther came out, our airport, you could call the airport and book a flight. And they had signs in the airport that said like to Wakanda. I love the community here. I love I'm from Indy, which has that small town vibe. Kind of a hometown feel a little bit. And then I lived in Chicago, and Chicago's really segregated. If people, a lot of people don't know that. And I think it's still segregated. We say separate but equal in Chicago. So Atlanta's like a mix of the two for me. It gives me that hometown Indianapolis vibe, but I still have the blackness of Chicago. And it's like living here, it's like if you have an idea or you have something you're doing, people really support here. I really love it. I can't imagine leaving unless I go to the islands.
Right, absolutely. That's where I want to be, Atlanta.
Right.
So, and you're from what part of Indy? Hallville, did you say?
Girl, yes.
Yes, Harville. Oh, this is a Harville sign. Okay.
That's a Harville sign, okay?
Okay. Well, tell me a little bit about how you grew up. What was it like living in Harville? What did you experience?
Growing up, I was pretty sheltered. If you ever seen, what is that movie? Boys in the Hood.
Yeah.
I think her name was Brandy.
Uh-huh.
I was, my mother worked at Holy Trinity Daycare. My family's Catholic. I could go on Homes, Warman and King. I could walk to Schaefer's Candy Store, and I can't remember the candy store on Warman. The Tates owned it, I believe. And I could go to those two candy stores, and I could go to 52 Park, and sometimes I'll sneak off and go to Sharon Park. But I was fairly sheltered. My grandmother lived on one side of the street. I lived on the other side, and then I had some cousins that live over on King. And so, but Howville, I don't know, it's changed. It used to have a lot more of a community feel. I still love it. I'm still proud to be from there. It ain't no hustler like a Hallville hustler. Hallville made me who I am today. My mother even said she was visiting not too long ago, and my father said something about my drive. And my mother said, "See, ain't you glad your mama raised you in Hallville?" And I was, yes, I was like, yes, I am. So it was a nice childhood. We raced in the streets. We didn't have stop signs. A Holy Trinity always has some kind of festival. And most people know me from my early childhood. They know me because of my mother, because she worked at Holy Trinity Daycare. And so everybody knew Miss Douglas from Holy Trinity Daycare.
Oh, so, right, because people make Harville to seem like it's just, like you said, like a boys in the hood type of situation.
Yeah, it kind of is. It's systemic racism creates that, honestly. It does. The thing that happens in Hallville that hurts me the most is we fight each other.
Yeah.
But my entire life, and I'm sure it's probably the same today. And not to be ratchet, but in my earlier days, we would hit the clubs, right? And it wouldn't matter. And anybody on here from Hallville, back me up on this. I couldn't literally be beefing with you. We could have just gotten a fight this afternoon. Okay. But if we get to the club tonight and somebody tries to mess with you, I still got your back.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I love that about Hallville. And I actually have been a part of that a couple of times. I've seen it happen. So, it's rough. People that have less, tend to be unhappy. And when you don't have, you tend to project. I watched that miniseries, Them, and that white woman, Betty, and she was going after everybody. She was projecting her own pain, and basically blaming the Black people for her own suffering. And that happens. It doesn't have to be a racial issue. Hurt people hurt people. Yes. And so when you are in those situations, when you live, that life, it's a product, but it was designed that way.
Right.
And I hope that before I leave this earth, I see it change.
Yeah, me too. Somebody said Harville was the best place to live, even though they lived right across the street, I think they said. So yeah,
it was. We actually have, I just want to shout out real quick, a young man in Harville, Ted Hardy. I always tell him Ted Hardy for mayor. Ted is out there. He's on the ground. Ted is still in the streets, and he is doing so many things to help the community. He has Easter egg hunts at Lynn Park. He just does so much. And so I just really want to shout out Ted Hardy, because it's easy to, once you're out of the hood, you can talk about it and you can, but I'm all the way in Atlanta, and there's really not a lot that I'm doing to help my community. But I do want to shout out, somebody that I know that is. So shout out to Ted Hardy, No Days Off.
Thank you for everything you're doing in the community. That's a beautiful thing. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
So growing up in Harville, so tell me, you're biracial, right?
I am.
Well, what was that like growing up in Harville, being biracial?
As a child, I didn't realize, that I didn't know color, honestly.
Okay.
As a child, I didn't realize that I didn't know color until I became an adult. Right. So I was the light-skinned girl. I knew that.
Cute, like Jennifer Thomas says, you were the cute.
I'm cute. That's all right. I own it. But I didn't know really, I was biracial. Honestly, I didn't. I mean, I knew I had a white mother, I had a black father, but I didn't think that was, I thought there were a lot of people that had white mothers and black fathers. For me growing up, people were just people, and I didn't realize until, I started school, preschool. I went to Holy Trinity, so it was predominantly black. And I would just like everybody else. My mama was a teacher, but she didn't give me special treatment. Tiffany Blakey, I think I saw her on here. Her mother was a teacher with my mother at Holy Trinity. And I didn't know, once they started busing us. And this is something that just, it bothers me. Okay. So Hallville, I don't know how many blocks there are, but every couple blocks, they shipped us out to different Wayne Township schools. So like you might live on Holmes and you would go to one Wayne Township school.
Right.
You might live one street over and you go to a different Wayne Township school, and another street, another street, etc. So it kind of broke us up. So I went to Sanders Elementary School all the way up until 5th grade. Yeah. And so it was a group of us, but we were minorities.
Yeah.
And that's when I started realizing, that there were more white people in the world than black people. So, once I got to school, I realized, and then I went to middle school. We actually moved out of Hallville my early teen years when I was about 13 years old. And I started going to a middle school, and there was only one other family that had mixed children, and we had a group. We kind of stuck together, like, I don't know, but that were the only mixed people that I knew, and that's when I realized there aren't that many mixed people at that time.
Right. So growing up, did you have any issues with being biracial outside of where you lived? Just I know you said that when you were younger, you didn't really see color, but when did you start experiencing color?
Once I got to school, it was like I wasn't black enough to be black. I wasn't white enough to be white. But one thing I always say is half black, half white isn't as white as half black is black.
Yeah.
So, when you go with that one drop rule, I started realizing then, and just, since we're speaking about my race, I didn't really know until I was older that my mother, she took a chance. She took a chance by even having me. I feel like, I've spoken to you briefly.
Yeah.
And I told you that I feel like I'm lucky to even be alive because I was born in 1975.
Right.
And, Martin Luther King was assassinated in 1968. And then Robert Kennedy, he was supporting Martin Luther King's cause. He was assassinated in 1969 in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
And so for me to even be alive just 6 years later, the racial tension was high. Yeah. My grandmother was actually disowned. So I grew up my entire life. She has, I think, 3 brothers. And I knew one. He was in a mental institution, Central State, which is in the Hallville area as well. But the other 2 I thought were dead. And I was like 30 years old. And my grandmother, she had my daughter. They were about to go to lunch. And I said, well, who you guys going to lunch with? And she said, my brothers, or it was her brother's family, something like that. And I said, well, I thought your brothers were dead. Wow. And she said, no, honey, my brothers aren't dead. And I said, well, Grandma, I thought y'all told me. And then I called my mama and I said, Ma, why am I 30 years old just finding out that Grandma has brothers?
Right.
And so in hindsight, my white family hid it from me well.
Wow.
I'll say that. They hid it from me well. I thought our family was just small.
Yeah.
All my brother's my mother's immediate brothers and sisters, I knew all of them growing up. My aunts and uncles, they never made me feel any different. But like I said, I was 30 years old and found out I had a whole nother family that lived on the other side of Indianapolis. And to this day, I haven't met them. And I ain't been 30 for a minute.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they're still they're still holding on. I feel sorry for him, actually.
Yeah. Because especially for you as a child, you shouldn't have to experience the ignorance of adults that see color. Did they treat your dad any type of way?
Not my immediate family. They did not. They didn't treat us any different. Okay. Everything, I think all my realizations were like a hindsight thing. Like I said, I didn't know when I didn't know until I got older. Now I will kind of shift here because I actually did experience molestation by one of my aunts on the white side of my family by her husband when I was a child. And so I accused my family of knowing. And I don't know that they did. You know, I lashed out. I actually suppressed the memories. And I would like to touch on that. I don't, you know, I want you to be able to ask me questions, and I get kind of, I can ramble. So, but yes, he molested me when I was a child. I probably from about the age 2 to 8. And I knew growing up that something happened to me.
Your aunt's husband, is that what you said?
Correct.
Wow.
Correct. And, you know, no charges were ever pressed. But I know in hindsight that I exhibited all the signs of a child that had been molested. I was
like, what did they miss? Why did they miss it? And how old were you?
I'm going to say it probably stopped. I don't know, somewhere between kindergarten and second grade.
Stop. It was earlier than that.
Yes. And so,
where was your aunt? When did this happen? Like, why weren't you protected, watched?
So they were the watchers. He was the babysitter. He was the cool uncle. And that's you know, just to speak on molestation, you know, to all the parents out there, honestly, if your child is under the age of 10 and they have any sexual tendencies, you know, for me, I played house all the time, and I would get in the bed, and I would be under the covers, and you know, I was clothes burned, and you know, I got caught doing that a couple of times. Right. If your child is advanced, that's a sign. Right. I was very promiscuous as a teenager. Honestly, I don't even remember necessarily being a virgin. You know what I'm saying? Like, wow. I don't have like you know, your child that's your time of innocence. I don't remember necessarily being innocent. Right. I always felt like I was doomed. I felt damned. I was raised in Catholicism, which I'm no longer a part of. Just pull me back, Rita, if I get, you know, because I'll go all over the place.
Okay, I will.
Okay. But you know, being raised in Catholicism, we're taught that if you don't confess your sins to the pastor, then you're not forgiven. So basically, you go to confession. You tell the priest your sins. They give you what's called a penance, which is some type of work that you can do. And then they tell you to say a certain prayer. And they might say it multiple times. You know, I can remember going to confession at about the age of 7 and being afraid to confess that I was engaging in sexual acts with my friends. And thinking after I left that confession, I'm going to hell because I didn't tell them everything. And he told me to
confess about even though you weren't the one that was sinning, did you ever say anything about the molestation?
No. No. And that's the other tricky part about molestation. Most kids that are molested, it's not child molesters don't rape children. Right. You know, they don't take it. They earn your child's trust first. They give your child candy. They make your child feel like they're the cool one. They talk to your child about things that a child might not should talk about. You know what I'm saying? And they gain the trust of the child. So when the child molester tells the child, "Now I'm going to touch you here," so your mom doesn't want you to know that this feels good. It's really sick. But child molesters don't function like that. So honestly, I didn't feel like my molester was doing anything wrong. He was cool. He was teaching me things that nobody else wanted to teach me. And I've always been kind of, you know, advanced as far as my thinking. So I thought he was doing me a favor. Wow. He didn't penetrate, you know, he just did other things. So no, I didn't even, the confession wasn't that I was molested. That wasn't what I was worried about when I left confession at 7. I was worried because I knew I was doing things to my friends. And so that's what I felt needed to be confessed. And I did it. And I remember him saying, "Well, go say the Our Father, you know, 7 times. My grandma lived right across the street from the church. And so he said, go over there and help your grandma rake her leaves, and then you'll be forgiven." And so that's how I grew up. And
it was an act, and then it was over. You just had to do something, some type of community service or something. Wow, that is a lot different. Wow,
it is.
And then someone commented and said that they were 14. Styles said that she didn't say anything until she was 14, so she understands. And I understand as well. Even no matter what age you are, I was molested when I was younger as well. And then I was raped when I was older, but I didn't say anything immediately. It took me a little bit of time. So I think there's something about being violated that you really don't know what to do with it sometimes. And especially as a child, you don't have any sense of reality. Like, it's hard for you to even fathom that something like this has happened, and you really don't know how to explain and how to say it, and then there's a fear for some people of what if they don't believe me? What if I get in trouble? But did you ever reach an age or a point in your life that you did say something about the uncle molesting you?
I did. And honestly, by the time I said something, it was too late. So what I experienced was something called suppressed memory.
Yes.
And that actually was harder for me to deal with than the molestation itself. Mm-hmm. And so I went to therapy after my experience. So what happened is years later, I think I was 25, 27, somewhere in there, and I was married. And can I just speak to sommes
Yes.
Because somebody said they felt guilty.
Yes.
And then you said that you said what you said. All right. Mm-hmm. We feel guilty. Another thing is just being a woman, being a female. A lot of times we take the blame.
We do.
We take the blame.
Good.
And there are other things that happened in my life that, I think we're going to speak on tonight. Mm-hmm. But I think like it's sometimes the victim tries to protect the victimizer.
Yes.
And it's just weird that it's like, I can remember thinking like something's not right here, but I don't want my uncle to get in trouble. So I'm not going to say anything.
So you're not
going to what I'm saying?
I do. And somebody here just said that they were molested by their cousin at 8 and they got, their butt whooped immediately. And that was it. And I can relate to that. I think that was Jean who said that, but I can relate to that. I had a cousin who kissed me and took me to the back alley and tried to get my jean skirt down, but he couldn't get past the button was stuck, and my grandmother was at the window watching, and she came out, got him, and was like, what are you doing? And I mean, I'm talking about my grandmama is an old school grandmother, so she got the switch. I mean, he looked like he went through a crucifixion, tore his butt up. And like she said, that was it. So sometimes you do feel like that, like, you do want to protect them, or, what if they get hurt, and you immediately put yourself to the side. Like you said, as a woman, we do that even with our children, with our spouses or significant other.
Right.
We take the heat so that they don't have to. So it's the same way. It's the same way in other situations. So I totally agree. That is so true. I'm glad that you said that, because that'll make people aware, especially we as women. It'll make us aware of ourselves so that we don't fall into that. We don't have to accept the blame for somebody else's trauma and trouble. Even if it is pushed off on us, we don't have to accept that. So thank you for saying that. And everybody, please share this as we're getting ready to shift the conversation and go a little deeper. What has already been said is so important. A lot of people need to hear, but please share this video. Had a cousin trying things, but let's see. I'm not sure what the rest of the comment said anyway, but a family just had a cousin trying things, but I told my mother they dealt with him for sure good. And I'm glad, Kim, because a lot of our families, a lot of the families, especially again, the women, we want to protect our men, and we say, he didn't do that, and shut your mouth. And we don't believe our kids. We push them to the side. That is horrible. So I'm so glad that wasn't your experience. Right. Want to protect our abuser. But go ahead.
Okay. So what I was about to speak on before I went back was suppressed memory.
Yes.
So what happened with me, because my trauma was so early, right?
Uh-huh.
And I learned everything I'm about to tell you. I learned this from going to therapy. When you experience trauma, whatever it is, at a really early age, the therapist told me that you suppress the memory. It's like a defense mechanism of your brain, right? So I knew that I had been molested, but I didn't have any of the facts right. I didn't even have the molester right. I thought it was another uncle.
Yeah.
And I don't, I'm not saying any names, and I'm not trying to throw my family under the bus or anything like that.
It's just
if I get a lawsuit, can you help me pay it?
I can.
Okay,
but
thank you.
You won't, because this is your truth. This
okay,
is
thank you. So I just remembered my memories were jumbled. Let me say that. Okay. So one night, so as I went through, I was promiscuous and different, and I lived some life. Okay. But one night, when I would engage, right? Engage, y'all know we all grown here. It was never for me, right? I always was just there for the other person. And I actually enjoyed being there for the other person.
Absolutely.
Okay? But that can cause an issue for that other person because they start to feel inadequate.
Yeah.
And so my other person told me that they were feeling inadequate and what was the problem.
Yeah.
And it was just this one night. And we were laying there and I just set up.
Yeah.
And I said the person's name. Okay. And he said, what? And I said, it was him. Wow. And he said, what? And then we were in a hotel room. We were visiting my parents. And I ran down the hall of the hotel and I went in the fire escape and I just sat there and I just cried. I don't know how long I was in the fire escape.
Yeah.
And it was like all of these memories just came back at one time. Right.
Yeah.
And so that I say that messed me up more than even the molestation because now this is some mental thing going on in my head. And I don't know if anybody on here has experienced suppressed memory, but when the memory returned, I couldn't remember a time when I didn't know. Right. So here I am 25, 26, 27 years old. And thinking about all these things that happened to me as a young child. And then I started thinking about yesterday, like literally the day before I'm sitting in this fire escape. So I started thinking, well, I knew this yesterday. So why wasn't I thinking about this yesterday? And then I was like, okay. And then I try to take myself back in my mind a little further. Like, okay, well, but what about when I was like 16, 17? Like, well, I knew it then, but like, where was it? Right. Yeah. So at that point, I felt crazy, for lack of a better term. I literally felt crazy. And so I was like, I'm going to go. I got therapy really quickly. Like I immediately, I'm going to say within 5 days, I located a therapist, scheduled a session. And I told her that that's what was bothering me. The molestation, I was fine with it. I had gotten to not fine with it, but I had gotten to the point where I had made peace with it. Yes. I'm blessed to really be able to see a lot. Yeah. I even, not that I'm justifying, but I see how people molest people. I see how people murder people. I can understand why people kill. I'm a very understanding person. You know what I'm saying? And I know that it's not just a situation that you're in, but it's a reaction, right? So I understand that my molester may have been molested, and I had already made peace there. But the struggle was, where have these memories been? What's wrong with my mind? And why do I know all this stuff now? And I know I knew it 3 weeks ago. And why couldn't I remember all this stuff? Why did this just happen? It was just suppressed. Your mind was just, defending you. It was a defense mechanism so that you didn't have to experience that and deal with that. Yeah. And that's what she said. And so she said, well, this happens. And she said, and people develop, she said, it's called fight or flight. She said, which one you think you got? And I said, so I'm a fighter, and I always was. I got in quite a few scuffles, as a child. I was fighting at 5. I remember I had a little girl down the street. I just loved to beat her up, and I would go get my sister was 3.
That's so funny.
Girl, I would go get my sister. I make my sister beat up her sister.
Oh, God.
So, yes, I did. I I ain't gonna say I ain't scared because I always had a little nervousness. But I did. I kind of liked fighting people.
And you would never know it with your sweet, innocent face.
Girl, you would never know it. Okay, because I know how to.
Okay.
Don't try it. I might be old, but I'm still smart.
I know, that's right. I'm the opposite. I can fight. I just don't. I use it as a last resort. I used to. I'm more of a pistol now that I'm older. But in high school and at really middle school, I was so laid back, and I was quiet. And you really have to either. I always say I'm either Satan or I'm Jesus. I don't have it in between. So I'm either mad and angry, and you're gonna feel it, or I am sweet, and I'll give you the shirt off my back. So somebody pushed me a little too far in middle school, and I got in a fight, and people were like, "Oh, she might be crazy." and
you gotta watch that quiet one.
Watch the quiet ones, and then the ones you don't think can fight, we are the craziest ones. And then in high school, somebody pushed me a little too far, and I went crazy, and they were like, "Oh, we won't ever mess with her." So, yeah.
I kind of earned that reputation. Nobody, because I am nice. And one thing about me is that I'm like, for like, even now, like I ain't out fighting now, but I will. Okay, but I don't want to. But one thing about me,
I will. I don't got a problem with that. But Jennifer Thomas had said something. She just posted a comment talking about getting therapy. And I believe she was saying that it's important because I'm so happy that you got a therapist, because some of us don't think a therapist can help or can help them. Yes, we know God, but people are put here to help. That is so true. And that's one of the things that the church has taught us. It's just Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. But Jesus gave us the ability and the knowledge on how to heal and how to do a lot of things. That's why we all operate in the areas that we do, because God gave it to us.
Okay, Jesus didn't even do it by himself. He had 12 disciples.
Yeah, he had 12 disciples. No, I mean, what is it then? So yeah, therapy. I agree with First Lady on that therapy is so important. It's so beneficial. I think even if you don't feel like you've been through trauma, I still think therapy is necessary. It's just a thought and healing process to work through some issues. So I really agree that was a great point. Yeah.
And just to speak on that real briefly, I totally agree. When the year I was turning 40, the whole month before I turned 40, I booked myself a therapy session every single week. Nothing was wrong. Sometimes I gave my therapist therapy. You never know. God will use you in some ways.
Yes.
I'd be like, girl, I know you ain't finna charge me for today because we talked about you.
You my invoice, okay?
Okay, so that was my thing. It was just, for me, sometimes it just helps like with life coaching. Sometimes you just need a little more encouragement. It's not, people, and especially in the Black community, tend to say, if you go to therapy, like, you crazy. You're not crazy.
No.
I mean, just how like having a conversation with you sometimes I feel like it's therapy.
So do I. Yeah.
And sometimes you just don't have that neutral party.
Yeah.
You don't have that person who's not emotionally invested in your life. You can't talk to your mama, always gonna have your back. So you call your mama to talk about something, she's gonna agree with you.
Right.
So it's nice sometimes.
Sometimes like mine gonna tell me, girl, sit down and shut up because you
sometimes we need somebody to just tell us the truth. Sometimes we're wrong.
Yes.
So.
Absolutely. So as you went through, all of this trauma, it leads you into your adult life. So tell us about what else you experienced.
So when I was young, I think I was somewhere, and I don't know. I didn't make notes for this. I asked God to use me and say what you gonna say, what you want me to say.
Yeah.
Somewhere between like the ages of like 8 and 10. Now we never really had a whole lot growing up. We had less.
Yeah.
And I remember as a child, my father actually was in an accident that caused some fatalities.
Wow.
And I don't think he was rightfully convicted, because it was but he was convicted, and he did some time in prison.
Yeah.
And it took a toll on us financially, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, my grandparents on both sides, helped us. My mother, the job that she worked as a child, when I was a child, it was more so a labor of love. She didn't make a lot of money.
Right.
But anyway, I grew up and we just never had anything. Excuse me, y'all. It's spring in Georgia and the fruit fly trying to come out in the video. This ain't about you, fruit fly. This is about me. Okay. Hopefully it'll stay to the side now.
Right.
But growing up with less made me want more. I remember my grandma telling me one time, she said, you should have been born into a rich family, because it seems like nothing we do is good enough for you.
Enough. Right. Wow.
So growing up with less, I always wanted more. And, I was a little hot girl. I wasn't scared of nothing. My grandfather, God rest his soul, he said, Christy, one thing I like about you, you ain't scared of nothing. He said, if it was to be tried, you tried it. And I just can't believe you still living. So this show could be 17 hours long.
Right.
We're gonna shorten it up, okay? But I always wanted more, and we never had. And so growing up in Hallville, we see daycare owners, salon owners, dry cleaners, car washes, and people with good jobs, right? So you make $20 an hour. That was a good job. You was one of the rich people.
Right.
And that just never was enough for me.
Yeah.
And so I started being what we would consider a hustler real early. I started hustling in high school, actually. And just, I'm being fully transparent. God telling me, go ahead and say it. I got pregnant at 16.
Okay.
And how I started hustling is I didn't tell my parents that I was pregnant. And I was trying to have an abortion. I was 17.
Okay.
I was trying to have an abortion, and so my baby daddy, he recruited me. All right, and so we had a little lady down the street that snorted and stuff, and so she was my sting, and so that's how I started doing like illegal stuff.
Yeah,
and I started selling her. I started stinging her to pay for my abortion.
Right. Wow.
Now that was with my daughter, and I ended up having her, by the way.
Good. What happened that you ended up having her?
So the lady scammed me, first of all. When I first started hustling, she knew I didn't know what I was doing. She knew I was young. She swapped out. She made some little bags of powder, flour.
Wow.
And so she did a little hand movement and tricked me. You know what I'm saying? I said, no, I don't want this. So she was like, skip, I made a little money with her, but not much, because she figured out I was slow and didn't know. And so she
behind the ears.
Here she was switching the packs up on me, and we couldn't get the money up at first. And by the time we got the money together, I was like 4 months pregnant.
Yeah.
I had my aunt Darlene is like my confidant. She's like a second mother to me, and I told her that I was pregnant. There's my daughter right there. That's how this is ordained. Hey, Alexis.
Hi, Alexis.
And so I told Darlene that I was pregnant, and she said, I said, but don't tell nobody. She said, you coming in here, you telling Granny right now. So she took me in the house. She made me tell my grandmother. I told her, my grandmother called my father, my poor daddy. My grandmother called him black ass. Can we cuss on here?
Yes.
But she said, Junie, get your black ass over here right now. He said, Mama, what's wrong? He said, don't you worry about it. You just get your black ass over here right now. And so my daddy came to the house, and he was livid. I was 17. He tried to convince me that my baby daddy wasn't gonna do right, which he was right about that. But I still am glad I have my babies. I have Lexi and Cameron.
Oh, that
but I got my parents put me out. My daddy said I couldn't come back home. I was 17. My grandmother said, well, it don't matter. She got somewhere to go. She can stay here. I ended up moving in with my grandparents, and I was actually scheduled to have an abortion like 3 days after I told everybody I was pregnant, right?
Yeah.
And so right like the day before I was supposed to go, I felt from the inside of my stomach, I got to show you. It said like 2 fingers, like tap, tap.
Yeah.
And I said, I think the baby just moved. Right.
Right.
And so I said, I can't have no abortion. I can't. I said, the baby moved. I said, I can't do it. So my grandfather and grandmother already told me I didn't have to if I didn't want to.
Alexis,
but my daddy said I had to. Yeah, she said knock knock. But my daddy said I couldn't come back home until the procedure was done. And nothing against my daddy. He trying to protect me. He knew I was smart. He knew there was so many things that I could do, and he really was just, he loves my daughter.
Right.
So I don't want this to seem like a woe is me story.
It does.
I called my daddy and I told him, Daddy, I ain't going. And he said, what? Did you tell your mama? I said, no, you was the most angry. So I figured I'd deal with you first. And so he said, well, you can't come home. I said, that's okay. I called my sister. I said, hey, can you leave the window unlocked? Because I'm going to come in there and put all my stuff in a garbage bag and leave the window unlocked when you go to school. And I went in there, I got my clothes, and I moved in with my grandparents. And my grandmother actually ended up dying when my granddaughter was 3 months old.
Wow.
So can I speak to that?
Yes.
Because I want to tell you about this miracle.
Yeah.
Okay. So I live with my grandparents, right? My daughter was born. My grandmother was the hard one. My grandfather, he was the easy one. I could get anything over on my pops, right? So my grandfather got sick when my daughter was 3 months old. And he was in the hospital. His temperature was 108. He had pneumonia, and he wasn't supposed to live through the night. All right. This was in 1994. 1994. And he wasn't supposed to live through the night. And so the hospital called, said, if you want to speak to your grandfather, if you want to speak to your husband, you need to come to the hospital and say your goodbyes, because he is probably not going to make it through the night. And if he does, he'll be brain dead by morning. So while he's still coherent, you need to come now. So my grandparents have my father and my aunt, 2 children. And so they all went up to the hospital, and I couldn't go in the room because somebody had to watch the baby.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So they go in the hospital room with my grandfather and my father, my grandfather, my aunt. They all to this day, so they never heard anybody pray the way my grandmother prayed that day. Wow. And they said she dropped down and she said, Lord, in a real commanding voice. Now, grandmother's from the South and they don't like to be called country, but she said, Lord, and she told him, don't take him. He ain't ready, Lord. Don't take him. If you need somebody to go, take me. Wow. I'm ready. I'll go. Y'all, my grandmother came home and died that night. And I was in the next room and didn't find her body. God protected me there too. My grandfather made a full recovery. We just buried my grandfather in August 22nd of 2021. That was 26 years ago. My grandmother came home and died that night. And she knew. And so she was basically my support system at the time, right? And so when she left, my grandfather lost his mind, so he wasn't no help. And my aunt was so depressed that she really couldn't help. My father was so angry, he really couldn't help. Now my parents, I did end up back over there, visiting and things. When Lex was still real young, maybe 6 months or so, they didn't just disown me, right? So they welcomed me back in, just like my grandma, who her whole family disowned her because her daughter had a black baby. I was at my grandma's house at 6 months, my white grandma. So it wasn't like my white family just kicked me out. They didn't know how to process, right?
Absolutely.
So here I am, 17, and don't know where to go, right? I was 18 at this time, right? So I put in an application at a low-income apartment complex, Carriage House West. Shout out West Side again. Got approved, $331 a month rent, had me a townhouse, honey, at 18. So my grandma, the white grandma, and I hate to be so colorist, but y'all don't know me, so you don't know which grandmother I'm talking about. But I went and stayed with her for a few months while I waited for my apartment to get ready. And I remember her telling me, I used to complain about my baby daddy. Any young people out here with a baby daddy, I'm talking to you. Okay. She said, I was blaming him for everything because he wasn't right. And I don't mind saying that, right? So I said, he just this, he that. My grandma says, Christina, stop it right now. I said, Grandma, what? I said, he don't even buy no diapers. She said, that's your fault. I said, Grandma, how's that my fault? He this, that. She said, Christina, you chose him. She said, all the things that happen in your life, they're your fault. Because She said, once you're an adult, it's your fault because you put yourself in a position. You chose the things that you chose. So you can't live your life blaming other people for the outcome.
Wow.
And that's something that stayed with me. So, you know, if I really, that's why I love that you chose, because I didn't know what you was going to say. I survived the truth.
Yeah.
Because that's really, from that point on, it kind of changed my perspective, because it's like, I realize now that the truth sets me free.
Yeah.
Who are you for me to lie to?
Yeah.
Who are you for me to try to impress?
Yes.
I don't gotta, if you don't like me for who I am, then that's on you.
That's on you. That is
so
on you. That's
yeah, so I appreciate her for that.
Yeah. Because it takes a lot of people a lot of time, and really some people never make it to that point where they are. I was just talking about this earlier on a live, where they are delivered from people's opinions. So for her to instill that in you, that's powerful. I am still shook over the fact that your grandmother sat there and prayed and said, "Not yet. If you gonna take somebody, take me." And she passed that night.
That night, my grandfather woke up the next morning, honey, called the house, and the pastor answered, and he said, "Why are you answering my phone? Put my wife on the phone." My grandfather the next day, he woke up, he was fine. His suffering ended right when she died. Like, he woke up back to normal. Now, he wasn't walking, you know, he was weak because he had been laying there.
Yeah.
But like, I remember pushing my grandfather in a wheelchair up to the casket. He couldn't believe what happened. You know, who
told him what had happened, and what did he say? What was his response?
So it was so neat the way God protected everybody in this, because for me, when I woke up that morning, right, my baby daddy wasn't supposed to spend the night, but I was sneaking me in anyway, right? And so he, you know, I had him sleeping down the hallway. He never slept in the bedroom with me at my grandmother's house, but so he just happened to be there that morning, right? So when we're walking out of the house, I look back at the house and all the lights were on. It was January, so it was still dark outside in January. And I said, damn, I got to run back in there and turn the lights off. Granny said, I always leave the lights on. It's real quick. The day before she went to the hospital, she sat me down and told me that she loved me. And me and my grandmother had been kind of going at it because, you know, I thought I was grown. I had a baby. You know, I'm 18 years old. I got a baby daddy. I don't need nobody.
Right.
You know, so I was that kid, right? And so my grandmother has just sat me down that day before and told me that she loved me, right? Mm-hmm. Me and my baby daddy went and got her some rib tips before she went to the hospital from King Ribs. Shout out King Ribs. West Side again. Okay. Right. So anyway, she did that. I went back in. I turned the lights off. When I'm turning the lights off, the phone rings. It's my uncle, my aunt's husband, right? Mm-hmm. My aunt is my grandmother's daughter. He said, Christy, tell Granny I'm going to come over there and get my keys. I don't want to scare her. It's still going to be dark outside. I said, okay, I'll tell her. But I was running late, so I didn't say nothing.
Yeah.
The night my grandmother died, when she went to bed that night, here's something crazy. She used to watch what's the church channel, TBN or something like that.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
She used to watch church before she went to sleep. So this night that she died, after she got back from the hospital, we ate. We still had a good night. She went to bed kind of early, and she told me, "Christy, come here." She said, "Turn my TV off." She never turned her TV off. So I turned her TV off. She said, "Now shut my door." My grandmother never slept with her door shut, so I shut her door. My aunt, who is like, my grandmother is her everything. Mm-hmm. My aunt called. And so I went in the room to tell my grandmother, my auntie was on the phone. My grandmother she was leaving.
Wow.
Right? And so it was hard to wake her up. My grandmother was a light sleeper. I'm on the phone standing next to her bed. I'm like, Granny, Darlene's on the phone. And so she's like, Even Darlene, she said, Chris, what you done did to Granny? Why she won't wake up? I said, I don't know, Darlene. I'm like, Granny, Darlene's on the phone. So they talk. They hang up. Mm-hmm. She talked to my grandfather that night before she went to bed. Told him she loved him. Wow. I go back in the house to tell her, cut the lights off. My uncle says, tell her I'm coming. I forgot. Right. Went in the car, went to school. When he came to get the keys, he found her.
Wow.
That's her son-in-law. So he called my mother, which is her daughter-in-law, and said, hey, we got a problem. And they knew my aunt and my daddy was going to take it hard. And so they said, let's just tell them she's sick. So they called Darlene and called my dad, said, your mama's sick, you need to get here soon. My grandma was gone. And then another aunt came to get me. I was at Ben Davis High School taking a final. Mr. I can't think of his class, but I was in history, taking my history final. And my guidance counselor, Mr. Ross, came and got me out of class. I love Mr. Ross. Rest his soul too. I just want to say, when my parents put me out and I was still going to high school, Mr. Ross lived in my grandparents' neighborhood, which was out of district, and he would give me rides home from school and all kind of stuff. So shout out Mr. Ross, he's gone too. But anyway, he came and got me out of class. And when they told me that my grandmother was gone, I said, no, you mean my grandfather? Because I was prepared. Right. And they was like, no, your grandmother. And I was like, no, you don't know what you're talking about, my grandfather. And they said, no, your grandmother passed this one. I'm like, okay, whatever. Let me just go see. So, we went there. But and then after I got to the house and realized that it had happened, I was in shock. I didn't cry until a year later. I smelled some Joy dish soap. And it just like the floodgates open. I didn't believe my grandmother. I didn't believe my grandmother was dead. And actually, about a year after she died, she started visiting me in dreams. And I would say, I knew you wasn't dead. And she would laugh. And we've shared a lot of dreams. We shared a lot of stuff in my dreams. I don't want to make it all about dreaming and that. I knew we had a lot of ground to cover, and I feel like I'm overstepping. So I'll let you.
You're not just flow as you're led to flow. Absolutely.
Okay. So yeah. So they all went to the hospital. The Reverend answered the phone, and he told my grandfather, I think now I might be making this part up, that my grandmother was sick or something, mm-hmm. And then I think the rest of the family told him that she had passed. I don't remember how my grandfather found out, to be honest.
Wow. I wonder. Oh, I wish you could ask her. What did she know that allowed her to become a sacrifice?
I believe my grandmother was one of the elect that's mentioned in the Bible. When the Bible says these days shall not be shortened except for the elect's sake. I believe that she's one of them. One of my people, my holy rolling people told me that's not possible because you have to be a Jew to be one of the elect. But Jew is not a race; it's a religion.
It is a religion.
I do believe that my grandmother was one of the elect, and I just she had a praying grandmother. I had a praying grandmother, yeah, and she knew God for real. She didn't play church with people. Yeah. She didn't do that, and I don't do that.
So after, I mean, and it was so, I hate to use the word premature because anytime that God calls somebody home, it's just their time. But for us, it seems premature. So you didn't really have the opportunity to have time with her, knowing that she was passing. So what today, after everything you've been through, what would you say to her today? What would you,
if you we done made peace. I talked to her. She's shown me my life piece by piece. Wow. I've had so many prophetic dreams from my grandmother, and I don't try to. People don't die. Let me say that. Anybody that's dealing with grief right now, people ascend. I'm 100% sure of that. Yeah. People do not die. Now, it's not common for them to come back. And sometimes if you dream of a loved one or a lost person, you could be dealing with a familiar spirit because the enemy is crafty. In my case, I know I was dealing with my grandmother directly. The Lord was using my grandmother to speak to me. I never tried to figure out the dreams, but everything she ever told me came to pass. Yeah. And I would like to tell you the last dream I had of her. I wanted her to meet my husband, but she died before he was born, before we were married.
Yeah.
And so the last dream I had, she was laying her hands on this sick man. And I saw her, and I always say, every dream, I said, I knew you weren't dead. And she smiled. She had a little gold open face right here, right? She would smile, and she would say, heh, heh, heh. And then, we would talk about whatever. And I said, I really wanted you to meet him. And she said, don't worry about him. She said, you listen to me and you listen good. I said, I'm listening, Granny. She said, the Lord is coming very soon. Wow. She said, love the Lord with all of your heart. He's coming very soon. I said, well, Granny, why do you get to keep coming back? And she said, because I got to help people. I said, okay. And like the dream ended.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't necessarily my grandmother's time, but God, there was still work for her to do. And God allowed her to continue to do that work, even from the other side. And she shared that with me. And I know my grandmother is with me. I feel it right now. I feel I got goosebumps.
Yeah.
So I feel her presence now.
Yeah.
So I'm not, I wouldn't say nothing to her because she's still right here.
Because she's still here. You've already talked to her. Wow.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your husband. So you went on to be married.
Yes. I went on to be married. I moved to Chicago. I had 3 kids. And this was the part of your interview that I was so nervous about. Okay, because I've shared all that other testimony. But like how we spoke earlier, you want to ask some questions? You want to keep going?
Keep going.
You know, when we spoke earlier and we talked about abuse and we talked about protecting the abuser, right?
Yes.
You know, and growing up in a Black family, you what happens in this house stays in this house.
Right.
You don't put people in your business, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And yeah. So anyway, the me that wanted more.
How did you meet him and what was it like?
So the me that wanted more, my cousin, shout out DJ Hookie. That's how I feel now. Shout out DJ Hookie.
Come on, DJ.
So DJ Hookie was the DJ at the Sunset Strip right there on 60th Street. And so he said, Chris, you should come up here and work. You will make so much money as a waitress. And I said, yeah, disclaimer.
Right.
Okay, working up there. He was like, man, I'm telling you, cuz come on. So I was like, you know what? Bump it. Let me go. I go up there. I start working at the Sunset Strip. I was a waitress. I was making money, y'all. Let me tell you something, young ladies. Keep your clothes on. They will give you more money with your clothes on than with your clothes off. I just want to say that right now. Okay, keep your clothes on. Don't give them none, sis. I let her make a bed. Okay, if you like a t-shirt, put a ring on it. Anyway, so Hookie had me up there, and I ain't saying I didn't. Now I done took him off a couple times, couple few. Okay, but if I could take it back, honey, I done been finessed out of it a couple times. But anyway. So I was working in the strip club. I was starting to live that life. I was making money. I was selling a little weed in the strip club. And I think the statute of limitations is over on all my crimes I'm about to confess to on this show. If not, Rita Green said she paying for my lawyer. Y'all heard it. Okay, y'all heard it here first. I was selling a little weed to the customers and, little other stuff to the customers. And so I actually met him. I was out partying one night and I met him at a club. And then he just popped up in the strip club one night. And there's a whole story to that I'm going to tell you off the record. But he actually was from the past. He was like notorious from my childhood. I heard his name when I was a kid. And I was like, man, I want to meet that person one day because he just sounds amazing. He's rich, he's this and he's that.
Yeah.
And I didn't know because he had changed his name by the time I met him. And so one of my friends, RIP Dayboo, I'm saying his name, okay? RIP Dayboo, however again. He said, Chris, you know who that is you talking to? And so I said no. And so he told me who it was. And I was like, oh my God, like, I cannot believe that's the same person. Yeah. So I was already impressed. I already knew I hit a lick. You know what I'm saying? So he elevated my game. I sold weed, and so I knew he sold something, right? So I was like, well, look, put me on. So he started helping me, and then he helped me some more, and then I just became who I became. And I did a lot of stuff in the streets, and just people on here from Harville or anybody on here from the West Side. I don't think I need to list my accolades. I've been out there. I'd have hustled hard as a lot of guys in the street. I was the plug for a long time. Yeah. And just want more. Let me tell y'all this. It don't add up to nothing. Okay. If it come quick, it go quicker than it came.
That's what everybody says. Everybody that's been in the streets, they have the same testimony.
Well, the problem is that when you grow up and nobody has nothing, right? You grow up somewhere like Howville and you see the daycare. To me, when I grew up, I thought that the way people made it, for real, I really thought how people made it was they sold drugs, they saved their money, and then they invested it in their business. So that was where my mind was. I'm about to sell this stuff.
People do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about to sell this stuff. I'm about to invest. I'm about to get me a beauty shop.
Right.
I'm about to, whatever. That was my plan. And it didn't work out that way. And so anyway, he and I did a lot. I put in some work, for him, not on no violent stuff, but just money stuff.
Right.
And I stopped. He ended up going to prison. And so I found another connect when he went to prison. Right. And so how I was when I was in the street, I was always still girly with it. I wasn't out there talking about we have my money.
Right.
I wasn't out there trying to be tough. I actually I actually played the role, and I'm not giving nobody no game. If any
Yeah.
of my ladies watching are actually in the street, but I would make people think that somebody was always watching me. I never let anybody think that it was mine. I always made people think I was just, all I'm doing is running it from
Yeah.
him to you.
Right.
And so I always made the people that I was dealing with, because I dealt with some of you. I dealt with our higher up hustlers, you know,
Yeah,
not our plugs, but I dealt with them. They dealt with them. So I would always make it seem like, if you do something to me, you got to answer to them because this they stuff. So that's how I was able to get away with it.
Which is true though.
Well, it was mine at that point. Somebody did have my back, but it was just, you know, I kept myself from getting I got robbed one good time in Texas. And that's a whole nother story. Me and my sister made it back to Indianapolis with $100 and a pack of crackers, and we washed up with baby wipes in a red Chevy Cavalier, honey. That's a whole nother story. But I mean, I lived it. Okay, I really lived it, and I'm not saying I'm proud of it, but I ain't ashamed either.
It's your story.
Yeah, it made me who I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
So these things happen. I start dealing with some other people. He goes to prison. I got into a situation where somebody did something where it was, if you really about that life, then it was time for me to get violent. I'm not violent. Like, I will fight you if you run up on me, but I'm not killing nobody. I'm not shooting nobody. I don't like to see people teeth pulled out. I don't like blood, none of that.
Right.
So it came to that where it was like, either I'm going to do something to this dude. If I don't, everybody in the street's going to start talking. And he was from he was from Brightwood. So he was from the enemy territory. Right. And if I didn't do something to him, they was all gonna start robbing me and punking me, because now I had to punk out. So I tucked my tail. I got out this like immediately. Like, I don't do that no more. You know what I'm saying? It broke me. I got out, went and got a job at Nordstrom, waited on my my ex-husband to get out of prison. He got out of prison. I was that down chick. You know, don't do that, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Don't be down.
Talk about it.
If you with somebody that actually uplifts you and they get down, lift them back up. You know what I'm saying? But don't be down for nothing. You know what I'm saying? Don't be down for a dream. Don't be down for a promise. Don't be down because of what you think somebody might do for you.
Yes.
Don't do that.
Yes.
So I was the down chick.
Married?
Huh?
How long were you married?
I was married for 10 years.
10 years. Okay.
I ended up getting married. I ended up having kids. We did everything. I mean, everything. We used to drive in New York, get knockoff bags. I would come home, sell them in the street, take the money back. I would middleman a deal if I had to. You know, like, I really was that stand by your man down chick or whatever. But at least once a year, you know, my ex-husband would jump on me about something. Like, I would ask him a question that he didn't want to be asked, and then instead of answering, he would smack me, or he would punch me, or he would, you know, something. I wasn't abused to the point where it was, and I'm not, and let me, before I even say this, let me not tell you that a little abuse don't matter. Okay? There you go. Because in hindsight, I should have left the first time. And I wish I would have left the first time. Right. So when I say I'm going to tell you, I had something, what they call battered women syndrome. Okay. And I've gone to therapy for that too. Yeah. And this is what causes us to, one, protect our abuser. This causes us to pretend it never happened. This causes us to stay. This causes us to do it for the kids. This causes us to be scared to go on Rita Green's show and talk about being abused. It's called battered women's syndrome, and it's real. Yeah. And every time he told me it would never happen again, I believed him.
What made you believe him?
Because I believe, I don't know. I can't tell you that. I didn't want to leave. You know what I'm saying? I was still in it for the dream. Like, he hadn't made it yet, but you know, as soon as I leave him, he gonna hit that lick he was supposed to hit. Right. As soon as I leave him, he gonna make all that money that I thought he was gonna have. As soon as I leave him, somebody else gonna come in here because I done turned him into a real man, and somebody else gonna come in here and benefit from my struggle. I've been down with him. I was there while he was in jail. She gonna reap the benefit of that, and I just wanted to believe him. I don't even know that I really did believe him. But I really wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I mean. That's what we do. Not even with abuse, but just in relationships. Period. You know, if we're cheated on, if we're lied to, if we're let down in any area, we just want to believe that there's hope.
There is though.
There is hope in some situations. Yeah.
The hope is that, listen, okay, let's just speak on obedience real quick. God told me to leave, but I didn't. We got to listen. We got to be obedient. Obedient is not following the 10 commandments. Every person done broke every commandment. I don't care who you are. You done kill, you done stole,
Yeah.
you done kill somebody's spirit. You done killed the cockroach.
Right.
You done killed, you done stole, you done lusted after something, you done been jealous of something. Like, you have broken them commandments. And if you haven't, then what up, Jesus?
Keep
you know
living.
what I'm saying?
Keep living.
You should. If you hadn't broken them commandments, you wouldn't even be on this earth. First of all, because Jesus came for the sinners, not for the righteous.
We were born in sin.
We was born, right? So, obedience is when God tell you cross the street, cross the street. When God tell you make that phone call, make that phone call.
Yeah.
When God tell you don't move. He tell you be still, be still. So, but he never really leaves or forsakes us. Can I give a quick little illustration? It just came to me because I just want to show you something. So I just had this in case I lose my train of thought. That dot, that's us. That's where we start. This line is that straight and narrow path in the Bible, right? And this dot here at the top is that's where we going, right?
Yeah.
Well, here's what life is, right? You go down this way. Okay, but that don't lead there. And this way, and this way, and this way. We scribble all over this paper, and all these things are different roads, but none of them lead to here, right? None of them, you just turn, and so you can go sell a little dope. You can go give it up when you shouldn't. You can go do whatever we want to call a sin, right?
Yeah.
And the only way to get here is to keep coming back here, right? Because that's the way, right there.
The way.
Right. And so as you going up this line through your life, it's always somebody like, hey, come down here. Look, I got some free jeans. I got some free jerseys. Hey, come over here. I got some money. Hey, come over here. I'm buying bottles tonight. Hey, come over here. I look good. That's what happens in your life. And you got to be obedient, because before you went over there, that same voice that called you to go over here, it was another voice that said, no, stay here.
Stay there.
Right. Woo. But this voice on this line is quiet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But listen, y'all, be obedient. You're gonna make mistakes. The beautiful thing about this illustration is, even though none of these squiggly lines I drew lead to this dot up here at the top, they all lead to this one.
Yeah.
So you can always go back. You can always start over. As long as you got breath in your body.
Yes.
Okay. As long as you got breath in your body, you can get back to that beginning, and you can start on down that path again, which is where I feel like I'm at, and I know I didn't speak a lot on domestic violence. Because
you were saying that every now and then, if he was upset with something that you asked, he would put his hands on you. How long did that last, and did it ever get worse? It's bad enough, like you said, we don't want to minimize it, but did it ever get to a point where your life was in danger, that he beat you up so bad, did it ever get there? And if not, what was it like?
So he never beat me up so bad where I was near death, right? He gave me little beatings. Yeah. And them little beatings keep you in that bad relationship longer than them big beatings. Somebody beat your ass real good and bust some stuff open, you probably gonna leave. Mm-hmm. But somebody give you a little knot right here, you're gonna fluff your bang up and cover it, and then you're gonna go on through. Yeah. Somebody get your eye a little purple, you're gonna put a little concealer on that, and you're gonna keep it moving. So your teeth get to getting knocked out, then you're gonna leave.
It catches your attention.
Yeah. Mine was more of a control. Like, you better shut up, because this could get bad. I do.
Did it ever make you fearful of asking, things that you?
Yeah. That was the intent. Don't ask me stuff.
Right.
I do remember. So for me, I always ran. I ain't let him get me like that. Now, I didn't fight back because I didn't want to kill him.
Right.
So that was really why I didn't fight back. And I remember the last fight, and we were married for a few years after the last fight, because I'm not telling nobody go whoop his ass, go do nothing. You're not gonna put no fear in him. There is, like my friend told me, there is a different kind of favor on my life, and I believe it's because I'm honest. So I'm not giving advice here, But I do recall him jumping on me, and I tried to hit him with this beer bottle I had, but it had too much beer in it, so it didn't break. And I remember him holding me down on the table and trying to get me, and I just up at just a good 30 piece, right? And that particular time, he didn't beat me up, right? And I left, and he chased me in the car, his car, my car. He running into the back of my car, like just no regard for anything. And so when we calmed down, because we always did, I asked him, have you ever wonder why I never hit you back? Because that was the first time, and it had been going on for a good 8 years or so.
Yeah.
And he said, man, come on, Chris, I don't want to talk about that. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. I need you to look me in my eyes. I'm asking you a question right now, because I almost killed him that night. And not that I'm a killer, but don't push me, right?
Yeah.
I
you don't know what you are until you're in the right situation.
Exactly. So even when I talked earlier about being this fighter, I'm not a fighter. I can't teach you how to fight. I just know I go to a whole different place.
Yeah.
Then I do what needs to be done. And then I come back to my body and look around. Right? Because I think that has something to do with the molestation, the ability to suppress whatever. So I literally black out. And I didn't, I growing up, like I never fought my sister, my brother, my friends. I've never fought anybody that I love because I didn't want to hurt them, because I don't know what I'm capable of. I know that I don't know what I'm capable of, right? Yeah. And so when I asked him that, he said, you know what? Yeah, I did wonder that. And that's when I told him, look at me. I don't want to kill you. And I will kill you. Yeah. And so it kind of stopped after that. And then I really think when you're in a relationship with a person that would resort to violence in order to control the situation, once they lose control, they don't want you no more anyway. Yeah. Right? Because the whole thing they get out of it is being able to control somebody. Yeah, and so I believe that day he realized he couldn't control me anymore, but it was too late. And we had these kids and we tried it and it didn't work. And I think that he's actually grown as a man and is in a good place. He has a new wife, and I don't think he abuses his new wife. I don't know.
What makes you say you don't think so?
I don't know. I'm not in his business like that. I don't know. I know our relationship was over when the control was gone. So when he knew that, this bitch might kill me for real. Yeah. It's just things just started to go downhill. And he's what they call it narcissism, where they just suck. They just take everything you got in you if you're willing to give it to them. That's one thing I'm not willing to do. Right. Give you everything I got. I'm gonna give you a whole lot, and what I give you is gonna bless you and help you. But I'm not. It's a line, and I'm not gonna let you cross that line. I'm not gonna give it all. I'm not gonna lay down and die for nobody but my kids.
Yeah.
So
was he a controlling person, or do you know why he was trying to control you so much?
He was controlling, and it could go. I understand him. He probably experienced that as a child. Yeah. His parents' mother might have controlled the father, or the father might have controlled the mother. He grew up in the projects in Chicago,
him or something like that. Or he could have been afraid, that you would leave him. Or
I think so. I think so. And I don't know if you heard me, but I said he grew up in the projects in Chicago, and so I don't know what he went through. You know what I'm saying? So. But I've forgiven him and I've moved on with my life, and I've gone to therapy about that too. So
what was the final straw for you?
The final straw for me honestly boiled down to my older two. So I have kids with two different men. The high school sweetheart, I have my oldest two daughters, and then my ex-husband, I have my youngest three children. It got to a point where I felt like he was selfish. And that if I didn't leave him, I wasn't never gonna have nothing. But then I was scared to leave him because I was scared I couldn't take care of 5 kids by myself.
Yeah.
And so what happened was
a lot of women stay in abusive relationships because they don't think that they can make it. That's true.
Yes. And so my daughter was getting close to graduation. And we kind of lived that hood rich lifestyle where everybody think we got something, but we really didn't. And so we didn't have enough money to pay for her to go to college, but we didn't make little enough money to qualify for financial aid to help her. So really, that was my breaking point. It wasn't even the abuse for me. I was so hardened. And I think because I was abused like my whole life pretty much, I had kind of gotten used to abuse. And that happens. And so for me, You know, I used to even tell people, girl, let me tell you this side note. I remember telling the pastor that I wanted to leave my husband. And he asked me what he did. And I told him, he said, girl, you could take a little smack. You live in Geist, don't you? What kind of house you got? I remember a pastor, not the priest, the pastor. And I did want to just side note, somebody asked much earlier why the priest didn't tell my grandmother that I was being molested. I didn't tell the priest I was being molested.
Right.
So I wanted to address that. But
the pastor told
you. A pastor told me, girl, you could take a little smack. Where you live? How many bedrooms you got? He said, you got a pool in the background, in the backyard. I said, no, I don't got no pool. He said,
this was a pastor here in Indianapolis.
Girl, I will call him out, but I ain't. Yes, ma'am.
Text me the name. Who is it?
I will. And let me tell you something about this.
If he said it, he owned it. That's the thing about it. We always, again, we hide the abuser. We hide those that are wrong. Why?
He's a bishop. He's a bishop. And let me speak on something else real quick while I'm preaching today. That gifts come without repentance. When God gives you a spiritual gift, he don't give it to you and take it back. How you use it is up to you. You can use it for good. You can use it for evil. For me, God gave me the spirit, the gift of encouragement. I encouraged some people to do some horrible things in my youth. Yeah. Now I use my gift for good. But that man had a prophetic gift. You know what I'm saying? And he is very prophetic. And so, but he abuses it. You know what I'm saying? So, but he told me, girl, you could take a little smack.
Girl, I want to know who this pastor is.
They saying he was an abuser too. So anyway, my daughter, I did it for my daughter. I felt like I had put them through enough. I trusted that God was gonna make a way out of no way. I knew that I would do whatever I needed to do in order to help these children. So I really left because of finance more so than anything, because I wasn't gonna keep living that hood rich lifestyle. And so the whole time, and let me tell you, if you in this, now this is a little bit of game for you. If you in that situation, if you dealing with one of those type of niggas, I'm just gonna say it, right? Put something to the side for you. Okay. What I did was I kept putting a little money to the side. I bought me a house. I paid cash for it over there by Rhodius Park. I fixed up one side for me and my kids in case we needed to live in it. I fixed up the other side. I rented it out. And I asked God if I could, my ex wanted to move to Atlanta. So this is how I got divorced. He wanted to move to Atlanta. And I prayed and I said, Lord, I said, and I had already told him, I said, I told my husband, I'll follow you anywhere but hell. So I asked God, I said, do you really want me to go to Atlanta?
Good.
Yeah.
I will follow you anywhere but to hell.
Yeah, I ain't going to hell with you now. You can't do nothing for me when we get there. You can buy me some bottles right now. You could buy me that new bag. You could do all that. But once we get to hell, what you gonna do?
Absolutely.
Now we both Satan, bitch.
No, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, make a plan. Yes. And and don't stay now because you ain't got the plan together. If you ain't already did it, then just, hey, sis, you can still leave. God will make a way. Let me tell you. Yeah. So I prayed. I asked God, do you want me to go to Atlanta? God showed me 3 dreams of me living in that house that I bought over there by Rhodius Park. And I asked my ex, I said, why don't you move over here with me? Let's save some money up because we had hit a hard time again, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he said, I ain't living in no ghetto. He came to Atlanta. I moved to that house because 3 dreams. Now, 1 dream, I could have been drinking too much. 2 dreams, I could have been smoking too much. But 3 dreams, I knew. Okay. 3 dreams, I knew. And so I moved my kids into that little shack. It was nice though. My auntie came in there. She said, girl, this looked like Coming to America. When Eddie Murphy and them took that project and turned it into, had the hot tub in the middle of the room. Right. So I made it nice now. I will make something nice. I made what they say, make the projects feel like a mansion, baby. So we didn't have TV. We walked to the library and checked out movies. We didn't have cable. I had wrecked my car. The insurance had lapsed. My daddy ended up finding this lady with a Voyager, a Plymouth Voyager minivan, right? I had a Lexus, okay? Wrecked the Lexus. Trifling, ain't paid the insurance. Lexus gone. Get this $1,000 Plymouth that I had to go. I had a relationship with the men at the Jiffy Lube. I pull in every morning. They fill my car up with water and I drive all day. Every morning I go to Jiffy Lube and get my car topped off because it overheated.
Yeah.
And I remember my son being 5, getting in that van the first time I brought it back. And I was shamed because I was like, man, I just had this luxury vehicle and now I'm in this cheap ass van, right? And my son got in that van, honey, he opened the door, he looked around, he said, man, it's so nice in here. He said, I can stand up and everything. And it just warmed me. And I was proud of that van after that. And I took that van and I went and lived in that little shack. And I was Christina at the time. I was Christina Green. Everybody knew I was together and I was balling and I was rolling. So what are you doing driving a Plymouth, going to Jiffy Lube to get water? What are you doing living in that little ass house? But I'm not too proud. Okay. And so I went there first. And then he and the controlling, I took the girls, he took my son to Atlanta. He said, I'm going to take my boy with me. And so I missed my son. And so I stayed in that house almost a year. And I remember praying, I said, Lord, I want to go. I miss my son. And I do believe I was supposed to be here when I got here, right? And so I started praying, like, can I please go to Atlanta? Can I please go to Atlanta? Because I wasn't going to go if God didn't tell me I could go. And so I didn't get dreams. I didn't have any visions. I just felt that God said it was okay. And I just want to side note, when the Bible says that my sheep will know my voice, it ain't always the same voice. God might give you a dream. God might give you a vision. God might give you a sign. God might whisper. God might give you a feeling. You got to know God. And when you know God, you always know the voice. But I wasn't sure. So I felt that peace of the Holy Spirit, like, it's okay. You can go to Atlanta now. And so I prayed again. I said, Lord, whatever you do. I said, if you got to get me in an accident, I said, do not let me make it to Atlanta if you don't want me to be there.
Right.
I said, now don't kill me, and I don't want to be crippled or nothing like that. I said, but if somebody just run into the back of me at the light, I'm gonna come back. I ain't going. Right. So I made it to Atlanta and no accidents, nothing happened. And about a year later is when I decided that enough was enough. I got down here. It was that same thing. It was the hood rich. It was the big house. I had a new Lexus waiting on me when I got here. I had, the bags starting to roll back in. And so I kind of started getting caught back up in it. But I realized that this is the same shit. You know what I'm saying? Different toilet.
Right.
And so I was like, I gotta go. My daughter, I can't do this to my kids. I have made them sacrifice enough. I was a parent at 17. I was not the best role model for my children. I sold drugs and my kids was in the back seat. And I remember my daughter saying, Mommy, why can't you just get a regular job? And I was like, well, Mommy, don't do that. I used to be a rapper and I made a rap and I rolled her apart at 7 years old. And I had her say that in the rap. Like I remember hearing her tell her cousin, let's roll a blunt. And her cousin said, no, let's. And she said, not a real blunt, just for pretend. Like I was not a good mother, but I was a good mother. You know why? Because I told my kids the truth. And, I evolved past that and I couldn't do it to my daughter. And so I asked God again, can I leave? Right? Can I leave? Because I don't want to be here no more. I remember God telling me one time, if your neighbor came in your house and told you how to raise your child, wouldn't you tell your neighbor to be gone? And he was telling me that your husband is not yours. Your husband is mine. Okay? That's my child. Stop trying to raise him and worry about you.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? I'm not condemning anybody. I'm not condemning my molester, my husband, my nobody, because we all make mistakes. And if somebody wanted to judge me for my shortcomings, then I'll be in hell right now. Right. So I'm not saying that, but we got to mind our business. We got to walk our path. Me saving my ex-husband is all over here somewhere. That ain't your job. You get your ass back over there and get on that road I put you on. So anyway, I remember that I started to fast. And I do want to side note, what made me have this relationship with God, right? When I was living in Chicago while I was still married, I was a real estate broker. I still am. And I was working at an office and I wasn't supposed to answer the phone. You had to be on phone duty. And I picked the phone up because it was ringing and nobody was there. Do we got to go?
No.
And so I answered the phone and it was this lady on the line and she said, I'm trying to see this building on 63rd and won't nobody show it to me because I'm not pre-qualified. Well, we don't show people buildings if they're not pre-qualified because you're wasting my time. Right. 45 minutes away from me, this building, 45 minutes away, and it's traffic. And I'm in Chicago. And if you know anything about Chicago traffic, it's horrible.
Horrible. I know. Yeah.
And so I said, you know what, ma'am, I'll come show you the building. She said, for real? I said, yeah, I'll come. I'm on my way right now. Meet me over there in 45 minutes, right? And so I get to the building. I show her the building. She's not pre-qualified. Nice lady. I pulled up. I was smoking a cigarette. I flipped it out. All right. I flipped the cigarette out and I said, girl, I'm sorry. I was so much damn traffic shit. I'm so sorry. I was running late. Da, da, da. I'm just being Christina. Show her the building. She liked the building. And she said, I like it. I said, well, why don't you go, talk to your pastor, and y'all tell me what y'all want to do. And I'll help you get pre-qualified so y'all can get the building. She said, oh, I'm the pastor. And I thought, and I said, I'm so sorry. Jacqueline Kennedy. Shout out to Jacqueline Kennedy from You Can Make It Outreach Ministries in Chicago. That's somebody you should have on your show. Okay. Her testimony saved my life. And so I apologize. She said, for what? I said, girl, I was smoking. I was cussing. And she said, baby, be you. It's okay. I said, okay. I said, I want to come to your church. And she said, you more than welcome. And it was in this area, it's called Motown, right? And it kind of reminds me of Hallville. Yeah. And I go home and I tell the ex that I said, I'm going to go to church on, I think it was like 51st and Bishop or 50-something and Bishop. And somebody tagged her. Well, don't tag her. That's okay. We'll get her. Yeah. So it was like 50-something and Bishop. He said, hell no, I ain't going to church over there. I said, why not? He said, ain't nothing but some dolphins over there. I said, well, I'm going. And I went to her church and sure enough, it was a church full of dolphins. And I was spiffy and I went in there just as sharp and it was dolphins all around. And I was like, okay. And so she gets a preaching and she starts to share her testimony, which I don't want to give too much because I believe she would be honored to be on your show. Yeah. But I want to tell you, she does not cuss. She does not offend people. But I remember her saying she showed her track marks. And she struggled with all these addictions and all these things in her life. And I even remember her telling us when she was sharing her testimony how bad things have gotten that she had to resort to picking pockets. And I'll never forget, she said, and I was the coldest pickpocket on the south side of Chicago. This is in the sermon, right? Yeah. So I listened to this testimony, and at the end of the service, I said, wow, God saved her. And so at this point, before that service, I thought I was still going to hell now because I still have some sins that I haven't confessed, and I still got some leaves I got to rake up, and some more fathers I got to say, right? Yeah. So when I heard her testimony, I said, well, if God can save her, he can save me. And so after that, I just had this relationship with her. So she is like a mother to me, right? Wow. And I called her and I said, I really want to know God. I said, when I heard your testimony today, I realized that there's hope for me, right? Wow. And she said, I said, I want to read the Bible and I don't know where to start. And she told me to start in the book of Matthew, which is still this is my favorite. And the Bible changes every time you read it. When it say the living word, because it's going to apply to what you're dealing with right now. It's so miraculous the way it's constructed. And so I started reading the book. And I started realizing that Catholicism was teaching us things that went against what the Bible said, like specific things. And I denounced being a Catholic, and I've turned my back on religion as a whole. And so that's why I just say God is too real to me to play church with people. I'm not going to put no gloves on. I'm not going to come in there with that hat. Gospel music irritates me most of the time. There's a song, Amazing God by William Murphy, I think. That's a real gospel song. I would look it up, y'all. Amazing God, Amazing King. That's a real song. Okay, but when I hear people, and I know you've advocated for Kirk Franklin, and I do believe he was just a man and he should have beat his son's ass. But when I listen to that music, I don't like it. I feel like they be doing that stuff for fame. They do it for the money. I don't even like pastors that don't have a job. The church, it ain't our job to take care of your able-bodied self while you sit around all week and come and just do this and hoop and holler. They teach them, the pastors be, they teach them that. So
the church is a business too.
I hate it. And so that's an issue for me. And I know I done got probably off target again. But anyway, going to her church made me realize that I could be saved. Going to church, meeting her, it changed my life. Wow. Meeting her, we still friends. I know her number by heart. I don't even know my daughter Lex's phone number, but I know her phone number. Right. So anyway, so that happened. And then I remember being back in Indianapolis. I think we were talking about me leaving. I got down here to Atlanta, and by that time she had taught me about fasting and praying, and basically she told me, like, when the flesh is weak, the spirit is strong. And that's the point of fasting, is you have to deny the flesh things so that your spirit man ears can get bigger and hear. When you feeling good and you looking good and you eating steak and you listening to your songs and you smoking your blunt, and I'm not even knocking you for doing those things, but when you're doing all those things, that voice is quiet, because that's not the voice you choosing to listen to.
Right.
So when you fast, basically all you doing is turning off all the other voices. You turning off the blunt, you turning off the liquor, you turning off the music, you turning off the meat, you turning off these things.
Powerful.
And so you can hear.
Wow.
So when the flesh is weak, you turning off that, and now the spirit can hear. And so I fasted for 9 days, and I would like to talk to you about fasting and different things that have happened, because there are other miracles that I had to skip over because we don't have enough time. But I fasted and I asked God, can I leave? And he knew that I only wanted to stay because I didn't think I could take care of 5 kids by myself.
Right.
I had a salon. I had a salon suite. I only made $250 a week at that time.
Wow.
Okay. My booth rent was, that's how much I brought home after I paid the booth rent. Right.
Yeah, right.
I got to tell y'all this testimony. I got to. I get through fasting, right? God didn't say, yeah, you can leave. I didn't get a dream. I didn't get a feeling. I didn't get any of these things, right? So, God knows our hearts, right?
Yeah.
So what happened, he knew that I was afraid to leave because of money. Now, here we go again in another situation. The house about to go into foreclosure, this, that, and the other, whatever, right? So I got to find somewhere to move. So I find this agent, right? And I'm an agent, but I found this rental right around the corner. My kids, let me tell you, the whole time I've been there, my kids never changed schools. Lex probably went to 4 or 5 high schools, but Kari, Jay, and Chris, my youngest children, stayed at the same school from pre-K to senior year through all of this. So I live in this big old fancy house, right? Yeah. So I find a house around the corner. So I called the agent. He said, yeah, I rent it to you. Rent's $1,500 a month. You can move in, right? Couple days before I move in, he said, hey, I got some good news. I got some bad news. He said, that house I told you could rent, they're going in foreclosure. So he said, honestly, they're going to lose that house in about 3 months. He said, so really, if you just make them an offer, they'll probably take whatever you offer, because they're only going to be able to collect rent on you for the next 3 months. Once they go into foreclosure, the house is no longer there. So you will basically be able to live there rent free for a minute, right? Yeah. So I said, well, see if they'll take $1,000. He said, they'll take it. I said, all right, cool. So I get this $1,500 rent for $1,000. Remember the house I told you I bought by Rhodius Park, the 2-unit house? Yep. When I left that house in Indianapolis, it was empty. I had hired a property manager to manage the house for me. Then nobody really want to live over there. But all this happened within a matter of days, within a matter of 2 to 3 days. April calls me. She said, hey, you got 2 new tenants want to move in. Somebody want to move on both sides. That's $1,000 a month coming in right there. That was paying the rent, right? Then I was working in this salon suite. I was only making $250, right? People started coming to my salon suite saying, God told me to come to you. People started calling my phone thinking they was calling a different salon. And they were saying, is this too groovy? I was like, no, this Christina Green, and I do your hair better than too groovy, baby.
Hello.
And people was like walking in. So my clientele tripled like overnight.
So that was the voice.
Yeah, to the point where the owner of the salon said, the lady in the back in the biggest suite, I was in the smallest.
Yeah.
The lady in the back in the biggest suite, she moving out. Do you want her suite? I didn't have the longevity. She just met me. I'd only been in my suite 9 months. She should have offered it to some of them girls that been renting for years.
Yeah.
Shout out to Kimberly Jones. Okay. She's the owner of Salon Studio Suites right here in Lawrenceville, Georgia. And so she says, you can have the big suite in the back. So I moved to the big suite in the back.
Wow.
Okay, within 9 months, now during this time, now I done left, right? I start the divorce process. So let me tell you what happened with that house. I lived there for 3 months. I paid that $1,000 a month. My clientele's booming. I got people renting both sides of my property out. And money is not an issue for me now, right? Money has not been an issue for me in 11 years that I've been divorced.
Wow.
Now, I ain't gonna say I haven't struggled and had to figure out, and I ain't gonna say I ain't have to put some rice with one chicken breast and chop it up a couple times, but I ain't never been hungry, and I ain't never not had no lights on, right? Unless I forgot to pay the light bill, okay? And they was back on in 3 hours. But anyway, so I get to that bigger suite. 9 months after that, I outgrew that suite. Okay. And so one of my coworkers, Rufy, who owns the salon that I'm in now, she's in front. She said, Christina, I found this salon. I think it's perfect for you because I had outgrown this one too. Go over there. The man said, give me $100 security deposit. I won't show this to nobody else. Now, this is a 2,000 square foot salon on the corner with a Walgreens. You know, it's high traffic. It's on a major road. I give them the $100. And so I always wanted to take my kids on a vacation, right? Yeah. I wanted to take them. I don't do Christmas. I ain't bringing no Christmas tree in my house. I ain't playing Santa Claus. I'm not doing that shit. We just go travel. We're going to enjoy the beauty of the world. And this is what I always wanted to do. So I had planned this trip to Puerto Rico, all while getting this new salon without enough money to do it. Now, I told y'all earlier that I'm a real estate broker, right? But the whole time I had been in Atlanta for these 2-3 years or whatever I was on, I hadn't closed no deals. I wasn't marketing myself. I wasn't taking clients. The market was really still in a decline. And so, because I came here in like 2011, the market didn't even start to recover till 2012. And so I needed, let me tell y'all, I needed $4,300 to finish paying for this trip to Puerto Rico. And I had 30 days to pay it. And I didn't make $4,300 extra. So I was going to have to lose the little money I had already put up, right? I'm sitting at McDonald's with my kids, and a man called me on the phone and said, hey, you got a house over here in the old 4th Ward. He said, can I take a look at it? And I would say, well, sir, I don't have a listing. I said, I'm sure it's listed with my company. I'll be happy to show it to you. I'll come show it now. I go over there and show that man the house. Let him in. He said, I want it. I'm going to pay cash. I can close in 2 weeks. Mind you, I had 30 days before I had to pay this money to go to Puerto Rico. I still had the salon to build out, and I still had to do the floors. I had already asked the landlord. I said, would you be willing to do the build out instead of giving me free rent? Because he offered me free rent. He said, no, I ain't going to do the build out. You can get free rent. So so the man told me he going to close. We closed the deal. Guess how much the commission was?
How much?
You guess.
$4,300.
Yes, ma'am. $4,300, right? And so had the commission been anything else, because here we go with that voice again, right? God spoke to me through that check. Now, don't take that and run with it, pastors. Okay, don't work it.
Hello.
He just spoke to me through that one check.
Right.
To let me know that it was okay for me to take my kids on that vacation, right? Because I needed the $2,500 to finish doing the floors. I needed equipment in the salon. And so the smart thing for me to do would have been to take that $4,300, finish building out the salon, take my little L from the deposit that I put on the trip, go ahead and get it together, and then tell the kids, like, I'll take y'all for spring break. That would have been the man thing to do. But because it was $4,300, I walked on faith that time. So I finished. I did the trip. I did everything. I didn't finish building out the salon. I came back from the trip with $1,500 left. Okay, which I thought I was gonna spend. And when I get back, now it's time to do the floors in the salon. Now, mind you, this Christmas, I moved in this salon in February. So the landlord called me right when I got back. He said, his secretary said, Christina, we gonna get over here and do these floors so we can get this thing moving. I said, well, the guy, I made up something. The guy can't do it till next week. She said, well, how much is he gonna charge you? I said, I think like $2,500. She said, I'm gonna call you right back. I said, okay. She called me right back. She said, KC gonna do the floors for you, the owner of the building. Shout out to KC Bowen. Okay. Wow. She said, KC gonna do the floors. So I didn't have to pay to finish the floors. Then KC said, go up there to Sherwin-Williams and pick the paint color. Yeah. He painted the walls. And then Casey said, where that little sketch you made? Because you wanted to build that little pedicure thing in that other bathroom. Bring me that sketch. Casey built the pedicure station. Casey did everything he said he wasn't going to do. Casey gave me 2 months free rent. And on the first month when I had to pay rent, Casey took that $100 security deposit off the rent. Wow. And I stayed in that salon for 7 years. For 7 years. Wow. Let me tell you the prayer I prayed, though, before y'all start thinking something. When I left, okay, after I fasted, when I left, the first thing I did when I got into my new house was going to my bathroom floor on the cold floor. And I remembered reading in the book of Matthew, how to pray is to put your face on the floor.
Face down.
I
Yeah.
remember my grandfather telling me keep my knees dirty, right? I said, so
Yeah.
Papa, you mean to tell me if I stand up and pray it don't count? He said, no. Now, it counts, y'all. It counts, y'all. But when you in trouble, okay, I laid on that bathroom floor and I put my face on it. I hadn't even cleaned it. It wasn't that dirty, but I hadn't cleaned it. I hadn't sterilized. I hadn't sprayed it down. I put my face on that floor and I prayed. And I don't remember everything I said, but I remember asking God, whatever you do, as long as I live, don't ever allow me to rely on another man as long as I live. Not that I don't want one. And not that I'm not going to have one, but I'm never going to rely on one. Because what happens with us is we stop having God first. We start worshiping our man. We worship, we put things before God. And what happened was my man was my God. That's why I was down. That's why I was willing to wait it out while he did that bid. That's why I was willing to run down. That's why I was willing to do all those things. That's why I gave him. That's why I believed him, because he was my God. Why would I not? Why would I not?
Wow.
Oh, good. That is why. And so don't be thinking all you got to do is go in the bathroom and lay your face on the floor and God gonna cut you a check. It don't happen like that. You have to seek God in a way. You can't believe in God because your mama taught you to believe in God. You can't believe in God because you scared of not believing in God. Okay, you can't even believe in God. You have to know God. You understand me? You have to know God. A belief ain't nothing but a thought that you continue to have over and over again until it becomes a truth for you. That's what believing means. We not believers. We are knowers. We have to know God. And I tell my children, I don't got my children running around here quoting Bible scriptures. I don't got my children going to these churches coloring pictures of Moses and Jesus and don't nobody even know what he looked like. I tell my children, you ask God to reveal himself to you in such a way that nobody can tell you that he's not real. Once that happens, then you can start praying. Then you can start reading the Bible. Then you can start doing other things. Then you can pray for mommy. But until you know God, that's the only prayer I want you to pray. And my children know. And so that's where it starts. You got to know. And I didn't mean to get excited. I told Chris I was going to come in here and do that. You did not, Chris. I told you, Chris. But I didn't know. But I did pray and I did ask God to put the words in my mouth and bring them out. So here we are.
And he did just that. You said we don't need to believe, we need to know God. That resonated with me. Wow. You just preached the whole sermon. And how you said that pastor changed your life. That's what you did for people tonight. You just changed their life. You just set them free.
God just used me. And I knew he would. I just didn't know how. But don't give up, y'all. Don't give up. You know, don't look at me like, oh, she did. I've been through hell and back.
Yeah, and that's what. But that so did that pastor, and her testimony. You said her testimony changed your life.
Yeah,
and the most powerful thing about it is it's continuing. It's a cycle. Your testimony just changed so many lives. You just did the same thing that was imparted in you. You just imparted it back out.
Just God did it though. I didn't do nothing. I didn't know what I was going to say. I don't have no notes.
It's the same thing. It's the vessel. It's okay for you to be the vessel and the mouthpiece of God. And the way you said you have to know him, we do know him, so we recognize him in you.
Thank you.
So yeah, right. You told your story, and the Bible says it will set the captives free, and that's what you just did. Somebody had commented earlier, it was a long time ago, but they had commented and said that they were in tears, and you don't know how much you're helping them. So you know this. I am so right. I was getting ready to say that. I'm so proud of you for allowing him to use you, because you could have stopped when you were a child and being molested. You could have gave up after the domestic violence. You could have given up after what you experienced in your marriage and in the streets, and you didn't. You're here and you are telling people your story. And the Bible says the truth shall make you free. And you survived the truth. So you're free. And now you just freed others.
Hallelujah.
That is powerful. You just set, and then you just set some things on fire and ignited some things in people, because there are women who are watching. Some have commented, and I know their personal stories, that have been through, or they're going through what you've been through, and they needed a voice that they could recognize, and you were that voice tonight. Just like you said, God speaks in different voices, different tones, different ways. You were the tone of his voice tonight. Yeah.
I felt it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I felt it.
Yeah. Yeah. And favored, like Jennifer, First Lady just said, life and favor upon you has brought you out. That you are the epitome of a testimony, of a miracle, of a survivor. Wow. And I'm really at a loss for words. You are, I like that, Candace. You are the star of your story.
Thank you.
Like that. Yes, thank God for using you. Bless
I
you.
love you too, Tiffany. I can see the comments now.
Oh, you can? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes, but you didn't. Wow. I just I'm trying to find the words, but I don't think I have to. I think because if you can articulate what God just gave you, then you have to be aware, and you have to know what he just did through you. You have to. And I can't thank you enough. Your story is just mind blowing. One thing, you talked about even your dad, how he went to jail. And I mean, like, you have just experienced, and then your grandmother, you've experienced so much loss. And I just, I want to know what kept you? How did you survive this? What kept your mind intact? What kept you through this?
I just have honestly, I have a different kind of faith. And I think that comes from my grandfather, for sure. My poppy who passed.
Yeah.
That, how they say, if you're gonna worry about it, don't pray about it. You're gonna pray about it, don't worry about it. I really don't worry about stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't. I never have. I'm kind of what they call a free spirit. And so it's just like, if I kind of, then I don't take it for granted, but like, I know, like, if something goes bad, then it just goes bad. Because something else gonna happen. Like, I've seen so many. I think because I overcame a lot of stuff young, that I started realizing that God got me, and not in a testing way. We don't test God like when Satan told Jesus to just cast himself down and God would send the angels. We don't do that. I don't do that. But I just don't like when COVID came. I got a nice old house and me and the kids, but I couldn't go to work. I wasn't making no money. I was willing to live with my mama. She might not have been willing to let me, but I was willing to go do it. You know what I'm saying? Nothing makes me. A car don't make me. A clothes don't make me. I buy most of my clothes at Goodwill, Forever 21.
Yeah.
A house don't make me. The only reason I even live in this house is because I wanted my kids to go to a good school. Okay, because I wanted my children to not be exposed to the things that I was exposed to. So I wanted to raise them in a different environment. It hasn't always been easy, but that's really why I live here. Yeah. I don't live here for status. I don't really even have guests. Like, I have about 2-3 people come to my house. Outside of that, nobody know where I live unless I go live with the Easter egg hunt or something. But it's just I don't really worry about stuff. Yeah. I just listen. I just let God have his way. Because guess what? On that little line I drew, if my path ain't for me to be wealthy, if God don't want me to be wealthy, I'm not going to be wealthy. If God don't want me to have a Bentley, I'm not going to have a Bentley. You see what I'm saying? So I want what God wants for me. Yeah. And whatever that looks like is what that looks like.
Yeah.
I don't have to. I'm so content with my relationship with God that is really, that's what I need. Yeah. The only thing that could really break me is if God left me. This house can leave. The clothes can leave. All it can leave. But if God leave, I'm in trouble. That's it. And he's always there. And so I just don't really worry. I don't compare myself to other people. I don't try to be something that I'm not. I don't. If you don't like me, that's your problem. If you judge me, that's your problem.
It is.
No, I just be myself. I tell the truth. And not that I ain't white lied before. I didn't show the piece of jewelry that I didn't like, and I liked it. Somebody liked it, but but I just don't. I don't worry.
Yeah, that's powerful. You said you can basically lose all this other stuff, but you're not in trouble until you leave, until God leaves you.
And he ain't.
And he's not. Yeah, yeah, he's not. Whew, listen, I don't even want to move on. It just feels so good right here. Oh my gosh.
Well, hold on. I got a choir. Just kidding.
I was ready. Yes.
Girl, I ain't got no
baby. Listen, you have a right to shout after everything that we just heard. Oh, yes, God, whatever.
Everything I just heard. Don't think I was just talking to y'all now. I'm over here like, whoa. Because I didn't even know all that stuff. So I was talking to me too. So I got some praying to do when I get off of here.
Me too, because you said some powerful stuff that I felt it, and I was getting chills too. Thank you. I was getting chills too while you were speaking, and I'm just like, yeah, it was hard to just keep my composure because I mean I felt God in your words.
I was in my words. I can tell you for a fact because there was a point when I was speaking that I knew I wasn't speaking.
Yeah. Ooh. Yes.
And I remember I shared Pastor Kennedy at church. I might have been her Easter service. I don't know, but I know before she started the service, I remember her asking God to sit Jackie down. She's the pastor. She was about to preach, but she asked God to not let her say a word.
Wow.
And for him to just do it. And it was a very powerful sermon. And I texted her afterwards and I said, the Holy Spirit was in you today. I seen it.
Yeah.
And I just felt it happen. I felt it. And I'm going to tell you what it was because it was important. When I started talking about fake church and playing church with people and kids sitting there coloring in pictures of Moses and Jesus. When I got right in there, that wasn't really me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We recognize that. We heard God all through you, and wow. I mean, you said some stuff that I got to go back and digest. It was just that powerful.
Wow.
Right.
We just can't be out here playing, y'all. Listen, we're in troubled times. We're in troubled waters. We can't be out here playing, and it ain't that we got to just lace up our boots and go to war. We just got to sit still. Stop praying so much. Stop. And when I say that, talking, God knows what you want. God knows what you need. God knows all that. He knows your heart. He knows you. All you have to do is be quiet, be still, and let God tell you how to get it. People think praying means shouting and screaming and amen and hallelujah and speaking in tongues and all those things, have their own value. But the most valuable thing you can do for yourself is to go into that closet, put your face on the floor, be quiet, confess your sins, go deep in yourself, because this is how I met God all the way. Go deep in yourself and confess the things that you don't even want to admit to yourself. I'm greedy. I'm selfish. I'm manipulative.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have did that. You did these. I'm not that good of a mother. I'm giving you some of the things that I confess.
Yeah.
Okay? I could be a better mother. I could keep a better house. I could do better with my finances. And you have to just confess all those things. And after that, be quiet and watch God work. Listen. They call it meditation. People that speak of the universe and things like that, they call it meditation. It's all the same. And stop judging people because they don't worship the way you worship. Stop judging people. Somebody that was born in India that practices Hinduism, it's just as hard for them to forget all the religion things that they've been taught as a child as it is for you to forget all the religious things that you've been taught as a child. And that's why the Bible tells us not to, what does it say? Not to, basically, it's like disrespect the other people's God. Don't offend other people.
Right.
Because really, if you think about all these religions, they all praising one God. There is but one God. There is but one spirit, and that's the universal spirit, universal consciousness.
Yeah.
We call it the Holy Spirit. We are all
Yeah.
talking about one spirit. You don't have a spirit. You have a soul. Your soul is your personality. It is inside of this flesh, which is a vessel, and your soul is connected to the spirit, to the Holy Spirit. And that's why we all one. That's why it's the body, because there's only one soul. There's only one spirit.
Yeah.
And that is the Holy Spirit.
Holy Spirit, right. That is so true. So true. I'm trying to see what Jennifer Thomas said because everybody's lighting up about it. Sis, what did you say, honey? Because I got to go back and see because I missed it. He speaks because we're not. Yes, that is sit still. Absolutely.
He'll tell you how to get there.
That is so settling for me because we do all of these theatrics and we do all of these things and it's just sit down. You know, our parents used to tell us that when we got rambunctious and did a whole bunch of stuff, go sit down. And that's basically what God is saying to us today. Sit down and just talk to me, just listen.
And just be honest with yourself.
Honest.
You gotta own yourself. In the book of Matthew, it say something about you glare at a gnat but swallow a camel. And when it say you gotta get the plank out of your own eye, you so busy using that one good eye to look at what's wrong with everybody else that you don't even realize this big ass plank sticking out of your own eye.
Woo.
And that's what happens when you confess. You get the plank out. Now I can see other people. And that's why I understand how somebody could kill somebody, how somebody could molest somebody, how somebody could steal something, how somebody could do so many things because I removed my plank. And now I can, my spiritual eyes, and I can see these things. Now, I, by no means am I claiming perfection. I still listen to 2 Chainz. So I still got a way to go. But I am honest.
Nothing wrong with
okay?
that.
I'm honest and know all the words.
And could probably write a verse in too.
Girl, get on that remix.
Hello. Woo.
So, you know, I'm not Pastor Christina. I'm just Christina and I'm just me. And I just hope that, you know, my transparency will bless you to be transparent. Be transparent with yourself first. Yes. And don't go being transparent with everybody before you transparent with yourself because that's how you get hurt.
Yes.
We as women. And out first. And women and men, and I know it's men and women both on here, I hope, you know, but when you just open yourself up, I had this conversation with my son. You just an open book and you just so honest and you telling everybody everything, right? You know, but you wasn't honest with yourself. And so now you get hurt because you going around being honest with the wrong people. So it all starts with self. And once you're honest with yourself and you know yourself and you can love yourself and you can forgive yourself, then you can start dealing with other people.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. That is so powerful. Wow.
This is a nervous thing for me. I know y'all like how much lip gloss she gonna put on.
I've been putting on mine too. I'm not nervous, but I
it's like it just made me feel good, honey. I can't have no dry lip.
That is so true. Be honest with yourself. That's where it starts.
Yes.
And that has challenged me when to go in my prayer closet tonight and talk to God and be honest with me and quit asking for everyone for prayer. They might not, have your good intentions at heart too. That's so true. Yep. Because and the same way that others can communicate with God, you can too.
The veil's lifted.
Period. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Woo. Anything else you want to share?
Girl, not now. I'll come back and I'll come back after like maybe 6 months or a year or so. And we can talk about some details. You break this interview down, and then we can talk about some other stuff. I'm open to it.
Yeah.
So, no, not tonight. The show is supposed to be 1 hour. We on 2.
That's okay. We are obviously on God's time, so that's what it is. So Christina is a real life cookie. For real.
Not cookie. Promise. Girl, but where is Lucius at? Okay. So there's something ain't adding up. I don't even want to come home. I just want to get in that bank account.
Hello.
Oh,
she can come back next week. Okay. We're going to do a repeat of her. Oh my gosh. So talk to us about what you are doing now.
All right. Well, now I am I'm living in Atlanta. I raised my children. My son is graduating from high school this year. Thank God.
Yes.
I have my twins are my last two. They're 15. I'm getting them through high school. I bought a house, and I don't have a hair salon anymore. I closed mine after 7 years. My friend had one across the street. It was a little nicer than mine, a little more visible. I was tired. And she said, why don't you take a break? Come on over here and work with me for a year. I'll give you a deal. And so I moved across the street. And I'm going to tell you, pride go before destruction. People were coming and giving me condolences. I'm sorry you had to close the shop. And how does it fit? I said, I'm not. Like, I made way more money in her shop because I only got to pay $200 a week. I had to pay $1,800 a month there. Plus, I had to pay staff. Plus, I had to pay to clean. And when my business was good, it was great. But when it wasn't, and I'm doing hair to pay the rent, it was bad. So it was, I didn't need that shop to complete. Yeah. I'm perfectly fine working there with her. And I work in there with my friend Ruthie one day a week on Saturday. I did build up a really strong clientele. I do that on Saturdays. And then I'm a real estate broker here in Atlanta. I don't do a whole lot of transactions. But sometimes it ain't, you shouldn't buy. Right now is a bad time to buy. Just letting y'all know. Don't buy a house unless you need to buy a house. So I do real estate transactions, and I sell paparazzi jewelry. I started doing it when the pandemic hit. It was just another way God freed me. When COVID hit, I have $440 in my checking account. And I was like, I always know not to spend your last. Like, whatever, you got to have a little something to do a little something.
Yeah.
And that was little. Okay. Yeah. But I had the pantry stocked. And I knew I wasn't going to be paying no mortgage for a minute. And I was like, I got this little money, but they ain't going to let me slide too long. And so I took $99. I joined paparazzi. God showed me favor in that business. And I started being successful with that. I met Jennifer Thomas through that. I love her so much. Shout out to New Creations. Her and her husband, Pastor George Thomas. Like, they're real. They don't play church. And I love them for that.
I love them so much.
Yeah. I know they God brought me into their life for a reason as well. And so I went out on that faith again. And I was like, hey, look, it's me, Christina Green. I was sitting right here in this chair at this table. I started selling $5 jewelry. So I do that, and I'm free. I'll just be free.
And what has paparazzi done for your life?
It's introduced me to some wonderful people. I made some money. I've made some contacts, and I can't wait to see what else it does for my life. Like, this is one business. If you know anybody that does have some hustle, send them my way, because I can't teach you the hustle part. But I can teach you the business. So if you have some hustle and you want to do something, I can help you with that.
Yeah.
So if you know anybody, I know you always helping people. I called Rita. I said, Rita, let's get these people signed up for paparazzi. Yeah. $20 we gonna give them now, sis.
And paparazzi has so many. This is what I'm wearing tonight. So the earrings, called the Z piece, the necklace. Hey girls,
thank you for the shout out. Yes.
I mean, it's phenomenal. That's why I was asking you what has it done for your life, because there are people who have been so inspired by you today, and they know that there's more out there for them. And everybody's looking for multiple streams of income.
Let me tell you this. It introduced me to Rita Green.
Yes, it did.
It introduced me to Rita Green. I posted something that seemed like I was having a bad day. I must have been, but I wasn't saying anything. And I got this inbox, because people think we're family or we know each other. Or we not.
Right.
I met Rita Green in like March or April of 2020. And I met her because I made a post, and then I got this inbox. And she said, hey, sis, what do you need? And I was like, huh? Like, nothing. I was like, and I'm like, that was weird. But then I thought about it, and I was like, wow, this person was really trying to help me. So I went to her page and started looking, and I said, wow, this person trying to help everybody. I was like, I like this Rita Green. Now my mama, every time something going on, she said, why don't you call your friend Rita Green? Why don't you call your friend Rita Green? She probably can help you. And so I just thank God for you, Rita Green. And I thank God for you walking in your purpose, Look, even my daughter, she thought you was family. I thought Rita was from the Greens.
I am.
No, I don't know Rita Green. I've never even physically touched Rita Green.
No.
She comes to Atlanta. She don't come by.
I knew you was going there, but you came here twice and I ain't seen you. So don't even try it.
She wasn't available, y'all. She didn't answer the phone. Yeah, but so many people, just you, Kimberly Kent, y'all have inspired me. Jennifer Thomas, and I ain't gonna keep saying names because I promise I love you. It reconnected me with some childhood friends. Tiffany Thompson, it's creative. Oh my gosh, what is her? Tiffany, if you on here, please say your thing. I cannot think of a name, but Tiffany does therapy, and it's not something that you usually see with therapists, like music therapy and art therapy. And my friend Hope that I grew up, she grew up next door to me. They can actually speak to my testimony from my childhood. They were there. Hope has So Chic Home Designs, and when I tell you she's bad. Tiffany is wonderful at her therapy with the creative solutions, but we reconnected. They started supporting my business. Like, I can't tell you all the good things, that have happened because of paparazzi. They have a thing in the company called Paparazzi Creative Recovery. I'm sorry, Tiff. It was right on the tip of my tongue, but I just couldn't get it out. It's the way she spelled it. She spelled it ghetto. That's why. If we had an 8 in there, I would have remembered.
That make no sense.
But no, I can't tell you. I feel just free, I pay my car off from selling paparazzi.
And I was going to ask you how, and the only reason why I'm going to ask you this is because you posted it. Okay. So I'm not going to be nosy, but tell us how much money that you've made. I saw your post that broke down even in the months. For those who are like, yeah, I dig it, but can I really make some money? Huh?
You're gonna get out of it what you put into it. All right.
That's true.
How much you want. Success is relative, right? Yeah. If you come into this and you want to make $500 to pay your car note, that's successful. If you say, hey, I want to pay my rent with paparazzi, and you make $2,000 a month and you pay your rent, that's successful. For me, I want to change my life. I want to pay off my house. I want to build a swimming pool outside. But I have so far, since I started 1 year, I think I made about $140,000 selling paparazzi from my house, $5 jewelry.
I'll take $750 for the first bidder. Who wants it?
I sold some of that stuff for $752 now. Look at my people, Howville in the building, right? Hope and Tiffany. We all grew up on the same street.
Produce.
Girl, we produce. I'm telling you, it's no hustler like Hallville hustlers. We didn't grow up knowing about credit because we didn't have none. You didn't loan money. Our parents didn't. Our grandparents didn't have loans to buy them houses because they banned it. If y'all watch any of those movies about gentrification, it's real. I would love to talk about gentrification. Yeah, it's real. I would love to talk about buy back the block. It's real. I would love for y'all to check out what Ted Hardy is doing. Like he said the other day, I saw him post. He's ready to move. You know what I'm saying? There's things that we can do. But I would love to talk about that. But we know cash, we don't know credit. And when we start meeting them city folks from Chicago and New York and LA, that's why they rolling up on us in Bentleys and stuff. And back in my day, we was riding the box Chevys, but the Hallville boys paid cash for them box Chevys. They paid cash for them D's. They didn't have no car note. They didn't have no repo man coming. And so Hallville, I love y'all. It is why the dollar store don't never close down.
That's good, Candace.
But just Hallville ain't no hustler like it. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no hustler like it. So, I just pray for my community right now. Heavenly Father, I bow before you, Lord God, and I lift Hallville up to you, Father God. I pray that you touch the hearts, the souls, the minds of every single person who lives there, who has lived there, Lord. Order our steps, Father God, and help us save our community. There has been so much blood and tears on those streets, Father God, and I ask for a healing. I ask that you use Hallville to be an example to ghettos across the United States to show them that change can be made, Father God. I pray that you protect Tedrick Hardy on his walk, Lord. I pray that you just continue to be with us, Father God, and just take us where you would have us to go, Lord. But use us and use Hallville as an example to the rest of the world. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Absolutely.
That's how much I love my hood.
Hello. Huh.
I love it. I love y'all.
Hallville's producing gold. You hear me? I mean, just Wow, this has been so amazing. Thank you so much for what you have imparted. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for changing the lives of so many. This has been amazing. Do you have a website?
I do. VIPtreasurebox.com.
VIPtreasurebox.com. So listen, y'all can go to her website. If you can go reach her on Facebook, you can reach out to me. I'll connect you. Whatever you need to do, go change your life. And all it starts with the click. And who knew that paparazzi would change her life? Who knew? But
paparazzi got me sitting right here talking to you.
That's how I was getting ready to say that. Making $140,000. Huh?
Okay.
Some made that in the last 10 years. Don't sleep. Okay. Don't sleep on this opportunity. I mean, literally 99. You can turn $99 into 140,000 into $1 million. Whatever you want.
Whatever you want to turn it into.
Whatever you put in is what you're gonna get out. Don't sleep on this opportunity while the favor is hot.
Give me I'll give me a second after the live is over, and I'm gonna make a coupon code for I Survived. And so that anybody that watches the show, if you shop on my website, then I can give you free shipping. There's rules that I have to follow for paparazzi. I can't just, everybody, you get some jewelry, but I can give you free shipping. So, I'll make an I Survived coupon code. And when I'm done with it, I'll post it and say the I Survived coupon code is ready. Hashtag at least the moon. Thank you, Kim Staten Mallard. I met her. She's all the way in DC area. Join my team. And I always, every time I shout one of them out, I tell them at least the moon, y'all. We gonna have condos next to each other on the moon. I don't know how far we're going, but I know we're going to at least the moon.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I tell you what, you have inspired everybody. I mean, even me. I'm just like, I've been taking notes.
I'm gonna inspire myself.
Amen. That's the best feeling. So I can't thank you enough. I'm gonna keep saying thank you, but I have nothing else to say but thank you. I appreciate everything that you've imparted, everything that you have done, even in my life outside of this show. Like, you have really been there when I was sick. Guess who showed up? You. When I was down, guess who showed up? You. Like, you are just a ball of life. Well, and somebody else has said that you ignited some stuff in them too tonight. And so I thank God for you. I thank God for your story, for your testimony. Thank you for being present for me. Thank you for helping me get through some rough times. I really appreciate it. I love you. I thank you. And I know you've shared a whole lot, but I want to, just for those who, I want to kind of touch back on your domestic violence experience. If you have experienced domestic violence, it is so important that you reach out to somebody and get help. If you know somebody who has experienced domestic violence, make sure that you are an ear for them and don't turn your ear from them, because a lot of times we don't take it seriously when somebody tells us some stuff and we need to get help and we don't listen to our friends. So if you need help, please make sure you reach out. There's national hotlines that you can call. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-SAFE. Again, 1-800-799-SAFE. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Next week, we'll have Derek Carter, and he survived a fatal accident. So, I mean, just that sentence alone, survived a fatal accident. He survived that. So I'm excited to have him on the show. But we also want to hear from you. What have you survived? I know that many of you guys have survived a lot of stuff, and this is just your time. It's your time to come and tell your testimony, to help others. This is your time. We want to hear from you. You can reach out to me through inbox or through email. You can send an email to the isurviveshow@gmail.com. We want to hear your story. We want to hear from you. Again, thank you all for tuning in. I am Rita Green, and until next time, be blessed. Thank you. We'll see you next week. Thank you to Chris, the producer, C-LifeTV. Excuse me, I'm trying to talk with these Invisaligns and it's hard. So, but thank you all. See you next week, and God bless everybody.